Good morning, everybody. Peace and blessings, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Asia, where our mission on this show is to educate and empower the women of our communities and the girls that they are raising. I am your host, Asia Nasir, and I am super excited to be here this morning with the guests that we have on this show and the topic that we're talking about today. As some of you may know, this is part two of a series that we've been doing this month on sexual assault awareness because April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And me and the guests that you're going to be talking to today and seeing and having them share information with you today have been working on sexual assault prevention throughout the year. So we thought how beneficial and how appropriate it would be to have our girls of J.E.S.S.I.C.A Cares that are in our leadership program on sexual assault prevention come and talk about this topic that is so taboo, not talked about enough, and we need to bring in awareness to it. So I'm really excited to have our special guest today. Again, this is part two. Last week we had the other five girls of our program sharing what they've learned, and today we're going to continue this series today with the remainder of the girls participating in the J.E.S.S.I.C.A Cares Sexual Assault Prevention Program leadership program that we're in collaboration with the Rutgers University here in New Brunswick. So without further ado, I would love for my guests to be able to introduce themselves so we can start with Johnny.
Hi guys, I'm Jenny. I'm 15 years old and I'm excited to be here.
Great, welcome Johnny to the show. And next we have...
Good morning, I'm Juliana and I'm 16 years old and I'm also excited to be here.
Yes, we're excited to have both of you as well. Thank you so much for being here this morning. And next, who do we have?
Hello, everyone. I'm Esma. I'm 16 years old, and I'm super excited to educate you guys and explain about sexual assault prevention, a topic that I'm extremely passionate about, and that I'm just excited to explain about.
Great. Well, welcome on the show. And last but not least, we have...
Hi, I'm Ivy and I'm 15 and I'm very excited to be experiencing this with you guys.
Great. Well, welcome everybody on the show. As I mentioned before, these young ladies have been working on a project that we have been working on since September of last year. So this is something that behind the scenes they've been putting a lot of work. We've been doing, collaborating with different organizations to make them, or I wouldn't say make them, but develop them into change agents, which is the whole premise of the program, is to create leaders, develop their leadership skills, and to help them become change agents for this particular topic on sexual assault prevention. So I would like to start, just engaging and just having a conversation with you girls. We started this program on back in September, and it was all about learning what is sexual assault. I think all of us kind of had our ideas of what sexual assault was, but when we partnered with SAVE of Essex County, and for those of the viewers that are on the show that are watching right now, we have a couple of viewers that have already tuned in. If you're not familiar with SAVE of Essex County, SAVE of Essex County is the #1 rape assault response organization in the state of New Jersey. So we made sure that our girls were getting the best of the best, the cream of the crop as it relates to education and empowerment. So I know even with me, I thought I knew a lot about sexual assault prevention, but I would love for you girls to share what were some of the things, but before we get to the program, what made you want to actually be in this program? I mean, we're talking about sexual assault. This is a very deep conversation. This is a very deep topic. What made you want to actually become change agents for this particular topic?
So I would say for me, what made me want to sort of like learn about this topic and sort of speak out about it is because it's taboo. Like how you said that, like, it's unheard of, it's unspoken about. That's the exact issue. And I would say that so many girls and women and, even boys are so underrepresented and they have nowhere to go and no one to speak out to because it's such a taboo topic. So I feel like speaking for these people who don't have a voice themselves is something that's extremely important to me and something that I've come to learn so much more about how important it is through this program, I would say.
Yeah. I love the fact that you brought about, I know for me, it's like you know that boys are molested and things like that, but that really came to the forefront in this program of, how it's not just females that are being sexually assaulted or who are, the voiceless, because they are boys and men, young men. That's why they don't speak. So yeah, I could see why that would be important. Anyone else want to share? Why did you want to become a change agent? Because you girls had to fill out an application, you had to come to orientation, you guys had to get letters of recommendation. I mean, this wasn't just, we just want to be in this program. It was a real commitment that you were making. What made you want to be in this program to be a
For,
change agent?
for me, because someone that I know has experienced sexual assault, and she came to me as like her comfort in what she told me, and I want to be that for other people. I want to be able to know that there is a comfort spot that people can tell about their experiences and feel safe about it.
Wow, amazing, Ivy. So look at that, Ivy. How old are you again?
I'm 15.
15, and you had someone come to you. So that means that 15-year-old girls, 15-year-old minors are having this happening to them, and they don't know where to go. So they're going to the next best person, their best friend, their peer, and saying, "This has happened to me." So we want to bring in awareness, so that way, if we're one of them, we know what to say. We know where to tell them to go or what to do. Right. So amazing. Anyone else want to share, like, what made them want to be a change agent and be in the program?
For me, there was a lot, just like Ivy and Asma said, there's like a lot of people around me that have been sexually assaulted, and like
Mm.
I don't want that to happen like anymore. Like I don't want like the future generation to be affected by this, because we're teenagers. We're only like 13 to like 16 years old in high school, and like even then, there's like a lot of people like getting assaulted. So I feel like what I can do, like I don't want that to happen to around my community. So like I'm gonna try my best to like be a change agent and like prevent sexual assault in my community.
Wow. So that's leadership right there. It's always thinking above and beyond. It's like it's more than just me. And you're even like, this is the next generation and the next generation, right? So it's leaving that legacy of educating and empowering, right? Anyone else want to share, like, why they wanted to be a change agent? What made them want to join this program on such a serious topic?
I wanted to become a change agent because sexual assault is uncommonly talked about, and I thought that was absurd. And a lot of people are being sexually assaulted, and not a lot is being talked about. So that's why I wanted to become a change agent.
Yeah, it's amazing how this is something that, does anybody remember in the training when they said, like, how many girls are in and how many seconds it takes for someone to be sexually assaulted? Do you remember? It was like one in every, does anyone remember?
Was it like 7 seconds?
It was something like that, right? I mean, it was within seconds. It wasn't like every minute something happened. It was like every, so many seconds. And I think it was like less than 30 seconds. Someone was being sexually assaulted in the world. In the world, within seconds. Someone, I mean, even in this conversation, there are going to be multiple people, unfortunately and sadly, that are going to be victims of sexual assault just from the program today. So, as Juliana said, it's absurd that something like this is happening so often, and yet it's so um, not talked about. It's not talked about enough. So, what were some of the things, as I mentioned in the onset of the show, we were talking about, the program, the leadership program that you're in right now, and we first started off with educating ourselves, being made aware of the different forms of sexual assault that were out there. Were you girls surprised at like the different forms of, what constitutes a sexual assault, and what were some of the things that you took away that was like aha moments for you?
For me, I would say that, like, yes, I was extremely surprised to see the different forms of sexual assault, because when you think of it, obviously, like, you usually think like physical, sort of like, penetration, unfortunately, but there's so many other forms, there's verbal, physical, but not, um, in the form of penetration. There are so many different forms of it. And it's all about consent and boundaries, and that was really that aha
Mm.
moment that I found. And just any form of going past that boundary of consent is a form of assault, and that's really what was the aha moment for me.
Wasn't it? Like, I know I was taken aback by that because I thought the same thing. It was just the physical act of it. I just thought the other aspects of it was just, okay, I'm in a toxic relationship or maybe I'm in a dysfunctional relationship, but it actually constitutes as assault legally, right? And I was not aware of that. I was like, oh my gosh, that is, I mean, this is serious. And we see it happen in so many relationships, the manipulation and things like that, and we think that it's just, oh, he's just a bad guy, but it's like, that's criminal. That's a criminal act, right? So yeah, great aha moment, I think, for all of us. Anyone else had an aha moment, in the program? So that was about the healthy relationships. Remember, we was learning about healthy relationships and boundaries. Yeah, what were some of the other things that Save of Essex County, worked with you guys in teaching you about sexual assault that was like, whoa, that was an aha moment?
For me, kind of what Esma said, like, because there's so many forms of it, some people don't even know if they've been sexually assaulted or not. And so I think our job here is to tell those type of forms so that people understand if they have been or not.
Can some of you girls want to share what some of those signs are for someone who might be watching and they may think that it might have happened to them, but they're not sure? What would that look like? What would those different forms of abuse or different forms of assault look like?
Well, for one, I know if you're obviously sometimes unfortunately happens when you're younger and when you don't really have a voice, in which at least one that's heard. So if you feel like uncomfortable in a situation, but you don't know what to do because you're the child and they're probably the adult.
Right. So if someone touched you in a place where it's your space, it's your body, right? And they touch you inappropriately, they touch you in a place where you did not feel comfortable. They told you that, or they use words like, "This is our secret. Don't say anything." Or they intimidate you. "I'll hurt you," or "I'll hurt someone that you care about if you tell someone that I'm doing." So it doesn't necessarily mean penetration yet, but yet they're touching you in places that it makes you very uncomfortable, right? They're using language that makes you feel not safe if you do say something, right? So yeah, those are different forms of that. How about in relationships, with what men do now with social media? What are some of the things that they're using with girls that are constituted as assault that we learned about in the class? Anybody remember?
For me, it's like more like a lot of people are getting sexually assaulted online. Like we're talking about like in person, but like there's like a lot of people that's like getting sexually assaulted like online that's like not talked about, like using different slur words and like making them to like me like you're just like anonymously talking to someone and like they're like forcing you to like do something that you're not like comfortable with yet. So like
Yeah, so like take off your clothes and
Mhm.
take pictures or show me pictures like this. And what are some of these young boys in high school and middle school are doing with these pictures?
Right. Unfortunately, they're going to social media and they're posting it for the world to see, which is completely disgusting and a violation of privacy. Like they sort of get that trust with the girl or boy, and just betray it and post it.
Exactly. Juliana, was you going to say something? It looked like you were going to say something. I wanted to make sure that we caught that.
I was gonna say that, as Asma said, they post things around and they flex it with their friends, with their friend group. They share it around
Mm.
and completely betray the person's trust.
Yeah, or they use it as a form of manipulation, kind of like dangling over. If you don't do what I say, if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm gonna post this. These are forms that legally, by law, we learned with Save of Essex County. This is criminal. If you post something or you record someone, remember that one? If you record without that person's consent, that is, so the act may have been consensual, but the recording of it was not, and you're posting it, right? So we learned a lot of forms of sexual assault that wasn't necessarily the act itself, but the different forms of sexual assault. So that was a great point that you brought up, Ivy, that some people are violated and they don't even know that it's a criminal act. that they've been sexually assaulted and they need to say something about it, right? So excellent. Anything else that we learned? I mean, there's a few things that I can think of. Yeah, Johnny.
It's been like so normalized by like especially like boys like going around like playing so many different girls or like asking girls for like pictures or something like that, and like it's so normalized, like people thinking that they're like cool or like they're like it's like it's making them to like it's making them like like cool, and like that's not okay, like
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like
it's
it's so
not okay.
like it's like those are like they're like the people that's like considered like accepted in society, like it's something that
Yeah,
is
and what's happening is a lot of girls in their, wanting to be accepted, right? They almost look at it like a badge of honor that someone would ask them
mm-hmm.
to, share a picture, like, oh, they chose me, to be part of this, group of girls. And it just really shows that, we have a lot of work to do as it relates to empowerment and, educating our young girls that that's not a badge of honor.
Yeah,
That's not okay. So that's a great point that you brought up, that it's become so normalized, right?
yeah, and it's also like normalized for like girls to like think that okay, so like if they'll only get into relationships or any sort of like thing only if they like put out more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. So, and I mean, this was stuff that was going on even when I was in high school, and it has gotten worse with social media. So this is, clearly this is a topic that just as much as is going on, we need to be talking about it, countering, what people are learning. And I want to get back to a point that you just made about normalizing, with the boys and things like that. So there was another topic that I thought was amazing that Save of Essex County, and her name was Leontine. Remember Miss Leontine? Does anybody remember the college session? The college session where they were talking about college and things like that. I mean, what did we learn in that session? That one blew me away. Anybody remember?
there's like I think there's like one in like five people that's getting sexually assaulted in college. I don't know the
And the
number.
thing, yeah, and what was happening was that's just the ones that are being reported.
Yeah.
There were a lot of sexual, I mean, a lot from fraternities, these frat. So when we're talking about young men are being sexually assaulted because they're pledging for fraternities, and these are some of their, pledging. I mean, these are type of things that are happening on college campuses that is not being talked about at all. So do you remember, does anyone remember what Miss Leontine said when you're looking for a college to go to? I mean, we look at the statistics of how many graduate and how many, go on to a profession. But Miss Leontine actually said there's something else that you should be researching when you're looking to start a college. What was some of the things that she was saying, that she was sharing?
Right. One of the things she mentioned was, you unfortunately you have to look at the rate of, sexual assault at that college, because, as a woman, as a female or male, you have to sort of look at these things so that you could prepare yourself and, sort of like understand where you're going to.
Exactly, because this it's like you said, it's not being reported, and in most rates, the numbers that we have, we know that that is the understatement of what's really going on, because that's just the ones that are reporting it. We know there are so many cases, especially on college campuses, that are not being reported. So it's like, even for the ones that are being reported, they post up all the good stuff about the school, the college, the stats, the football team, this, and the how many have graduated, and how many are now in this profession. But that school has a bad rep when it comes to sexual assault and things. But it only takes you doing your due diligence and research. Remember, it's like you can Google this stuff, and you find all these cases of girls and men talking about how they've been sexually assaulted. Don't I mean, would you want to know these kind of statistics before going to this college? And I think your parents would too, right? So these are things, especially if you're going away. If you're going away, these are some things. So we learned a lot from Save of Essex County. They were really great at that. They even talked about bystander intervention. Remember that? So does anybody want to talk about bystander intervention? For some of us may not even know what bystander intervention is. What does anybody want to share what bystander intervention was, and bringing awareness to the viewers that are watching?
I believe bystander intervention was when you kind of watch from a sideline in which like you don't necessarily like intervene with it, I guess, but you just watch from the side.
And now it's not even just watching. What are people doing now when they're watching? That has become a phenomenon.
They're
They're like
taking videos and pictures of it.
And doing what with it?
posting it online.
Posting it up, but no one's going to law enforcement. No one's going to law enforcement and saying, hey, look, I got proof, I got evidence. At the very least, they're not even doing that. They're posting it up, making memes about it, joking about it, laughing about it. And this is somebody who's been assaulted. I know in Philadelphia, there was a woman who was on the SEPTA train. She was sexually assaulted on the train with other people there, and they took their phones and videotaped it, and no one intervened. And they knew what was happening. So bystander intervention is a real thing, right? Some of us may feel afraid to, but at the very least, if we're afraid to, maybe it's a dangerous situation. If you're going to pull out your phone, you should be doing what with it?
Calling the
Calling authorities. Sorry.
Call authorities, right? Call authorities. That's the first thing you should do. Not videotape it. Call the authorities and say, look, there's a sexual assault happening right now. This is the address. This is this. And then you can maybe, record or something to that way you can show evidence. But if there's other people around, what should you be doing with other people around? If you're not the only one standing there and someone is being assaulted, what should we be doing? What should we be trying to do at least?
trying to stop it.
Trying to stop it, right? It's too much of us just standing by. And I think that's the reason why people have become so bold now to even do it in public, because they're not worried about anybody doing anything about it, So just bringing this awareness that there is something you can do. And yeah, Ivy.
I feel like it's even worse these days because of like the gun violence and stuff around. So people are definitely shying away from stopping any conflict because they're scared.
Absolutely. And that's why I say, if it's a dangerous situation, if you feel like, look, this is really not a safe situation, at least call the police. Let them know what is happening. Let them, so that way someone can help. But to just walk away and do nothing, or to just stand by and watch, that's something that should never be an option. We should be at least taking action, if not to, get involved physically because of the danger, at least letting law enforcement who are hired to handle these type of situations, at least let them know that this is indeed happening, right? So we learned a lot. We took a lot from this from the training. We learned the different things and bringing awareness, what we can do, even in this situation of, like you said, being afraid that something could happen to me. So with all of that, with all of the things that you learned, one of the things in the program was also that you're going to be participating in a summit at the end of the year. And each girl-led program, like we're representing Northern Jersey, but there are other girls that are representing South Jersey, Central Jersey. So we're not the only girl-led program that is participating in this in partnership with Rutgers. But you guys chose a risk factor that you said, look, as it relates to sexual assault prevention, this is the risk factor that we want to take on. And the risk factor that you girls chose was the social norms and how it connects to sexual assault. Does any of you want to talk about what are some of those sexual norms? Those social norms, the social norms that are happening that's making people think that this is normal and is contributing to sexual assault. So Johnny?
One of the norms we picked was educating the guys more instead of the girls, because it's mostly it's the guys that are like assaulting girls, like if you look at it. So
Yeah, so although we know it's happening to young boys, it's still statistically it shows that it's a higher number of, women and young girls being sexually assaulted. So we put so much emphasis on educating the girl what not to do, what she should do, but we're not educating the boys on what are some of the things that boys think that they need to be re-educated on, and kind of deprogram these kind of thoughts that lead them to thinking that this is okay. What are some of those things for those that are watching that have sons, and asking their sons what let's educate. What are some of those social norms that some of the boys are thinking, and it's leading to sexual assault?
They're thinking like regarding what they're wearing. They think that because they're wearing something revealing or something that they think is, not really, I don't know, but they think because they're wearing certain clothing that they can do what they do.
Yeah. So if she's wearing this, then that means she wants it. That means she's asking for it, right? We can agree or disagree with how someone wears, but that still does not consent to someone saying, I want to, have a sexual encounter with someone, right? What she wears, that's not a consent. So absolutely, right? We need to change that narrative that because of what she's wearing, it's not a consent or a permission to say that this is what she wants, right? Absolutely absurd. What else? What are some of the other social norms that are out there right now that people are embracing and teaching and following, and it's leading to people really being hurt?
Right. I would say that like in high school or like even middle school, unfortunately, like the narrative that the more girls like a guy has, the cooler they are, as we talked about like earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like that notch on their belt. Was it you, Johnny, that said that? Yeah. It's a thing. So now guys are like, in order for me to be popular, in order for me to have some kind of status in school, if I got to take it, I'm going to take it. So that way I could say I've had, right. So it's this pressure, this peer pressure that's going on, that the more, and we need to change that. That's not what makes a man, how many women he has. It's the quality of how he treats the woman that he's with, right? We need to start talking more about that. So I agree with that 100%. That's a social norm. So what else? What are some other social norms that we actually just talked about in our last session that we were like, we need to demystify this type of thought process?
The school's dress code, the dress code,
The, the,
the dress code situation.
yeah, we talked about that. So that was one of them, and the boys having that. But there were some other social norms that you girls talked about that I thought were amazing, social norms, and even some of the classes that we learned. Want me to give you a hint? Remember when we were in the session with the healthy relationships? Um, Even if a young girl, say, has a boyfriend, or she's even with a husband, right? So this is even in married couples. If initially a woman says yes, but the minute she says no, what does that mean?
It's a no.
It's a
No.
no. Got to stop. Okay, well, how far you gone? If I say no now, that means stop. No, I don't want to, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. So that was one. I think that's a big social norm that people, well, she said yes, and we were already, in the act. So that means she wanted, but it's like the minute she says no, that means stop, right? Juliana, did you want to share anything from, what we've been talking about? I want to make sure I'm not missing you.
I was gonna say, I completely agree with what you said about no means no. If someone says agrees 1 minute and then another minute they say no, they should stop.
Absolutely. And these are some of the norms that are happening. What are some other social norms that are happening that are contributing to the way men view women, and thinking that I can treat her any which way I want? What are some of those things that have just become the norm because we see it all the time?
Like music wise and like artistic but videos and like the way that some songs like say the certain lyrics.
Yeah. How we address women, the terms, the words that we use, the adjectives that we use when we're describing women, it's degrading. It's degrading, right? Um, So it's definitely something that we need to change that narrative. We need to train boys that we're women are not to be objectified, you know. So that's a good point. We see it on social media all the time, you know, the videos, and what you were talking about earlier, which is the sharing of the videos and things like that. Like that has to stop. That is not to be normalized. So yeah. Anything else that you ladies want to share regarding social norms and how that's contributing to devastating people's lives?
I would say like potentially television and media and how they're sort of like similar to music, how it's just being portrayed and how degrading it is with media.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So it goes back to that saying, to whom much given, much is required, right? So, yes, we've been given the freedom. Like in other countries, people don't have as much freedom of speech to be able to say certain things. But in this country, you're almost free to say whatever you want. But there comes a responsibility with that. You can't just come out and say whatever. These things have consequences. Words are powerful, right? And it can be damaging to other people if we're not careful of the messages that we're sending. So how do you feel about some of these celebrities who put out these things and then they turn around and say, well, I'm not anybody's role model? How do you feel about that? How do you
Right.
feel?
I think that's like absurd because, if they have millions and millions of followers and you see that all of these people are watching you, these young people, these young sort of like impressionable people are looking at you and watching you, how could you say that you're not anyone's role model? Like you clearly are. The numbers don't lie.
Absolutely. Absolutely, right? And whether you want to or not, you kind of take on that role when you become a celebrity, when you become, what an artist, an actor, or whatever. It's almost like an automatic. It's like saying I'm a parent, but I don't want my child to follow me as a role model. It's almost like an oxymoron. You can't have both. If you're gonna have a child, you're gonna take on that responsibility of having a child. You have to understand that you are now that child's role model. You can't say I want this but not have the other, right? So very good. So you as change agents now taking on that role and the responsibility, how what does change agent mean to you? Knowing that to whom much is given, much is required. Like you've been given the knowledge now, you've been taking, public speaking classes to be able to articulate, the awareness. What does change agent mean to you? So I'll start with Juliana. Juliana, what does change agent mean to you?
Um, at first, I had no idea what being a change agent meant or what it was. But after being in this program, I think I have an idea of what it is. The formal definition of a change agent is a advocate or someone who change or like change movement. But for me, being a change agent is stepping out of your comfort zone and making changes.
Ooh, I love that. Yes, Juliana. Yes, it's stepping outside your comfort zone because when you're pioneering something, when you're the first one initiating it, you're going to get the hardest hits. You're going to get all the obstacles. It's like you're paving the way for everybody else. But for you, it's like I'm getting all the hits, I'm getting the insults, I'm getting all the obstacles, the opposition, right? And that's not comfortable. That's not a comfortable position. And you're saying I may have to take out all my insecurities and got to put it all on Front Street, right? In order to make this change happen because it's for the betterment of everyone else. So excellent, excellent, Juliana. Okay, let's go to Ivy. Ivy, what does change agent mean for you? This responsibility of change agent at your age, 15, like what does change agent mean for you?
Um, Kind of what Juliana said. It's like stepping out of your comfort zone in order to change the environment around you, and it's to aid in a way that you're gonna benefit the people around you, so that they can
Yeah.
live a better life.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Ivy. Yeah, and Johnny, what is, like we were just talking about role models. I mean, role models doesn't necessarily come in adult form. A lot of role models are adults, but doesn't always mean that necessarily. So you taking on this role as change agent and us just talking about role models, like what does change agent mean to you?
Just like Juliana and Ivy said, for me, change agent means like changing the community for the better, like educating the peers next to me, and like raising awareness and changing the community to
Yeah,
like a more positive and respectful and safer for girls and boys.
yeah, yep, yep. And last but not least, Asma, like, what does change agent mean to you?
Right. So like what Johnny said, like using your voice in a positive way to make a difference. Like using the knowledge you have to sort of like help other people and make that difference. The opposite of a bystander. Like instead of sort of like sitting on the side, sort of like coming out and doing something about it for positive change.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I'm just not going to stand idly by. I'm going to use my voice, whether it's happened to me or someone that I know. At the end of the day, it could be when we look at the statistics that are happening, right? It could be at any minute. It could be someone that we know. And God forbid, it could even be one of us, right? So this is not something that we can shy away from. It's happening. And at some point, it's going to touch someone that we know. It's going to touch someone that we work with, someone that we go to school with, someone that's in our family. And God, like I said, God forbid it could happen to even one of us personally. Like it's something that it's going to touch us at some point in our lives. And so we need to talk more about it to try to prevent that from happening. And you said something when we were talking earlier, Asma, you said the first thing to changing something is what? And you said it so eloquently, and this before we actually came on live. What is, what was that you said?
Spreading awareness.
Spreading awareness. What would you suggest for those like parents that are out there that's like, I'm afraid to talk about this topic with my kids. It's such a taboo topic. It's such a sensitive topic. What would you say? I mean, and I know just like you're a teenager, but I think being teenagers and then talking to parents who have teenagers or even middle school age kids, what would you say to parents who are afraid to have this conversation with their children? What would you say to them? Johnny?
So if there are like parents watching this, you guys have more experience than we do, and like of course like during like your time, there's been like a lot more sexual assault cases. So it's like to your like to your kids, you guys are the only one they can rely on, especially in these sensitive topics. So I feel like your kids love you, so like no matter what, you should like have a conversation with them for their safety, so like they don't like step out or to the real world and like facing all these problems in like without your knowledge. So I feel like all parents should like have their like a conversation with these kids, even if they're uncomfortable. So like even then like it's gonna be uncomfortable, but like it's gonna give your kids more knowledge and more like awareness when they grow up.
And it's like what Juliana said. It's stepping outside your comfort zone. It may be an uncomfortable conversation to have. And I'll just share my experience. I was molested as a child. I was 8 years old, and I did not tell anyone until I was 40. 32 years later is when I finally said something. And it's just because, my father he was so protective of me. He felt like, well, if I don't let anyone spend the night, if I don't let my daughter spend the night at anyone's house, I'm protecting my daughter. I'm protecting her from something that could happen where it's not under my watch. But unbeknownst to him, it happened in our own house, right? So not having that conversation, who knows, maybe I would have shared if I had known that this was something that I could talk about, or this was something that was encouraged to talk about. It was just assumed, well, if she's not saying anything because it didn't happen. That's not always the case. Just because your child is not saying something doesn't mean that they have not been subjected to sexual assault or they have been sexually assaulted, right? So it definitely is something that we need to have. Anyone else want to share why? Why should someone, have these conversations with their kids?
I would say because it's better to have it before and possibly prevent something from happening in the future than to have it afterwards that it happens, and knowing that your child, could have had this before. She or he could have had this talk before.
Yep, absolutely. It's
Right.
better to, yeah, go ahead, Asma.
Sorry, I just wanted to add to that. I would say that, I think it starts with the parents because, the youth of today are the leaders of tomorrow and like the generation of tomorrow. So by having these conversations with, your teenagers, I think that, making educated teenagers to sort of like lead tomorrow and, create a different culture is gonna make the biggest difference, the biggest impact in this cause.
Absolutely, absolutely, because it takes so much more work to heal someone than it is to educate a person and have them learn from the beginning what to prevent, what to avoid, what to what to have a voice for. Like being able to tell our girls saying no is powerful, and you can say that and I don't have to explain anything to you. I said no at period at the end. I don't have to explain myself. I just said no. That's enough, right? Being able to educate our girls, being able to educate our boys and letting them know that certain thought processes, whether you see it on TV or not, is wrong, right? So there's so much that we can do. So for those that are watching, we're coming up, to the end of our show today. There are some things that are happening right now that people are listening, and I mean we're getting hearts, and people, I see people on here. What's something that you could, for those that are viewing, whether on YouTube or whether on Facebook, what's one of the ways that individuals that are listening, parents, even youth, they may not be able to be in the program, but what are some ways that they can support you right now?
One way that you can support is to donate to the program for future events so that we can continue in these events and we can spread more awareness.
Great. So with that being said, Ivy, thank you so much for saying that. Programs like this are not free. Getting programs like Save of Essex County, like while they volunteer to come and speak to us, other programs and other aspects of what we're doing in this program are not free, right? So to be able to educate, empower, drive to schools and other places for us to be able to do, we do need funding for that. So to Ivy's point, if anyone wants to make a donation to Jessica Care so we can continue the work that we're doing, please visit our website at jessicacares.org and hit the donate button, and you'll be able to make a donation that will go directly to programs just like this to empower our young girls. So thank you, Ivy. That is a way that you can support bringing awareness, because that's one of the things that we're looking to do, is to bring this education to the schools in our area. So thank you so much for that. Anyone else? What else is going on right now that if someone said, look, I want to support, I love what you guys are doing, I want to support you, how can I do that? What's another way that they can assist in supporting you today?
So like as you mentioned, April is sexual assault prevention awareness, sexual assault prevention awareness month, and on April 26th, there's actually an event called Denim Day, and basically what it is unfortunately a girl, she was sexually assaulted, and basically during the court hearing they concluded that it was her fault because she was wearing jeans that were ripped, and that it was her fault because she was wearing that, and that gave a guy a right to assault her. And
Yeah.
as a result of this, we can sort of help spread awareness by wearing jeans that day, April 26th, letting your children know, if you are a child doing it at your school, bringing it to your schools, spreading awareness in this way, and sort of like making a stand and saying that I can wear what I want and I have the right to do so without being afraid to be assaulted. So, making that stance by wearing jeans on April 26th.
That's right. So it's Denim Day. Denim Day on April 26th. And it was to what Asma, what you were saying is, they were saying because she wore jeans, jeans is a little harder to take off. So the fact that he was able to sexually assault her, that she must have consented. So I want to give some context to this story. This happened to a young lady in Italy. So this didn't even happen here. So this is an international event that's happening on April 26th. This was a young girl. She was 18 years old. 18 years old, and she was sexually assaulted by her driving instructor, who at the time was 40. So when they say that because she had jeans on, and that it must have been she must have consented because jeans are hard to or difficult to pull off. Let's look at the context of that. This is a 40-year-old man, and this is an 18-year-old girl. Even if he told her to take the jeans off and she took them off, It was under duress. This was not a situation that she was consenting to. This man sexually assaulted her, and they blamed the victim. So we have a lot of that goes on. And this is why so many women and men don't come forward, because they blame the victim for it. So this is a day where we're saying, as Asma, just mentioned, we are standing in solidarity to these victims that are saying it's not your fault. And we're here to stand by you, to say that because something happened to you, you had no fault in that. You said no, and someone just ignored your boundary and they took advantage of the situation. So, in support of our girls, for those that are watching, you can go on my timeline here on Facebook. You'll see our flyer for Denim Day. We're asking everyone on April 26th to wear their jeans, post your picture, hashtag Jessica Cares, and hashtag Denim Day Challenge. So that way it can bring awareness. So when people look up Denim Day, well, what is Denim Day? They'll see this story and they can stand in solidarity with you. So yes, that is another way. Great support. Asma, any other way that they can support Juliana and Johnny that you can think of that they can support right now in bringing awareness and supporting sexual assault prevention?
Them by just raising awareness in general, like even if you're not officially like a change agent, you can still like learn about sexual assault and like educating people and like changing the community for the better.
Yes, I think that's the biggest, but that's another misconception. We think that, oh, well, I'm not on a platform, I'm not quote unquote a change agent, so I can't make change, right? Where can girls and boys be change agents right now, whether they're in a J.E.S.S.I.C.A Cares program or not? What are some areas that they can create change and changing the narrative? Girls, I would love for you to share for the viewers that are watching. What are some ways that they can become change agents, even if it's not on a huge platform?
You can.
Right. In their schools, that's something that everyone has access to, as a young, female or male, that's something that everyone has access to. They can go to their schools and, make a difference on that level.
Yeah. So we were just talking about Denim Day, right? You can go to your principal. You can go to the assistant principal and say, hey, look, I just heard about, Denim Day and what it's about. I think our school should participate. That's a way of being a change agent, right, in your community. What other ways can you think of? Johnny, you thought you came up with that idea. Any idea of how someone in a local level can make change?
You can make a lot of changes through social media by like, supporting Jessica Cares or like other organizations that supports sexual assault, and just like educating yourself about like the community and just like
Yes.
you know
No, that's good. Keep going, Johnny. You was good. I was listening to you. I was just over here going, yes.
just like educate, like you can even just like tell people in the social media if you have like more following or anything like that. You can just like raise awareness about sexual assault and just like changing the community.
Absolutely. So we could do it at houses of worship. You could do it at school. You could do it even in your home. If you have siblings, right? You share this stuff with your siblings. So it doesn't have to be on a mass. The fact that you're contributing to educating someone, empowering someone, as Ivy did with her friend, she actually, sat down and was that safe space for her friend to come to. And now you being educated, what are some of the what's the biggest resource that you can tell someone right now if they said this has happened to me? Where's a place that we can send them to and say this is a place that can help you? They actually helped us.
The
Save.
county.
Save
Right.
of Essex County.
That's right. Save of Essex County. So now it's not just I'm this safe space, that I'm this friend that you can talk to. That's great, because when you've been traumatized that way, you need the last thing you feel is safe. So Ivy, you being that friend, that person that they could go to and feel safe, that's huge. Just letting people know that I'm a good person and I'm a trustworthy person, that can make all the difference. And now you have a resource to say, okay, hey, you know what? Let's call Save of Essex County. They're going to know exactly what to do from here to be able to really help you get through this, right? So now you're that friend who can give them information and help them and be that change agent for them, right? So excellent. Juliana, any ideas of how maybe someone could just be a change agent locally?
I think someone can be a change agent locally is like say you own a local business. I'd say posters of
Mm.
sexual assault prevention or just talking about it with your coworkers or with people customers.
Absolutely. I think that's amazing. Yes. Letting people know, as a businesswoman myself, letting people know that you care about the community is huge. It's going to make me want to shop with that person more because I know they care about the community. So, absolutely. So, you're talking to entrepreneurs now. Yeah. So, there's so many different ways that we can actually, become change agents within our communities. And it doesn't have to be on a grand scale, doesn't have to be with a nonprofit organization. And it's as simple as you see something, say something, right? You see something wrong, do something about it, say something about it, have a voice, use your voice, right? So, and that's something that I've been saying to you girls all along, is that you have a voice, right? And I just want to say in front of everybody watching, I'm so proud of each and every one of you. Like, your girls last week, they were sharing their experience in the program and how they've grown through the program. You're sharing today the awareness, the education, and now you're spreading it. That's empowerment. Empowerment is not just hoarding information. You're actually doing something with the information now, and you're sharing it with those on YouTube and everything. And speaking of YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, share this video. Share this video. The more people that get to hear it, when people are looking up, people are desperate. So people are Google watching or Google searching or going on YouTube searching for something that's going to educate them on something like this. Share this, like this on YouTube. Make sure you like it, subscribe to our channel, and then share it with as many people as you can, because the more viewers that are watching it, that's a way also to support our girls and making sure that they're spreading, their education and awareness, and then you're spreading it and taking it to the next level. So we can all be a part of this. So in conclusion of, this, our talk today, I want to just ask you to actually, close out, what's your final thoughts that you would like to, as a change agent, as someone developing as a leader in your community, someone who's taking this serious? Oh, actually, you know what? Wait, before we do that, I just wanted to say, in our program, part of being a leader and part of being a change agent is, like, we work hard. We put in a lot of work. We've been putting in a lot of work, and we're about to put in some more work with self-defense classes that you're about to be taking in the next 8 weeks, right? So we're putting in a lot of work, but also being a leader requires you to have some balance, right? So what are some of the fun things that we've been able to do, or what was one of the fun things that we just did recently that helps you bond as leaders to be able to work together and be a team together? What was, if you want to share that?
The ice skating.
Well, we didn't go ice skating because I ain't going ice skating ever. So where did we actually go?
We went roller skating.
Right, we went roller skating. Yeah, we went roller skating. Yeah, see, I'm on wheels. I ain't on no blades. We went roller skating. That was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I think part of being a leader is making sure that we keep that balance, right? And it helps bond you with your fellow advocates and saying, we're going to work together, but we're going to play just as hard together, right? So I just wanted to share that that's part of what we do here at Jessica Cares as well. So, girls, your final thoughts to those that are watching, that have been listening, tuning in, and just a message that you want to share with those that are tuning in. What's your final thoughts surrounding sexual assault prevention? What's your final thoughts that you would like to leave with the viewers that are watching the show today?
I think it's important for people to know that they're not alone and that there are places out there who will help them. And I just want them to know that they're safe. And I'm sorry it happened, but just know that we can help you to get through it.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that they're not alone. And I think it does, it does. I'm speaking from experience. It does feel lonely. It does feel lonely. You feel like you're an island onto yourself. So to feel supported, I think, is one of the biggest ways that you can advocate for someone to say, you know what, it happened. And I love the fact that you said, I'm so sorry that that happened. It's that empathy and showing that. So thank you. Thank you so much, Ivy, for sharing that. Anyone else? Any final thoughts that you want to share with the viewers or those that might be watching?
So something that I would like to say is that just understanding that everyone can make a difference. Whether you're, a student, an adult, a parent, a family member, you can make a difference. Just by speaking out and, just going out of your comfort zone, you can make a difference in this cause. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everyone has a voice. And even if it's one person that you impact, one person that you make a difference, that is, like you said, you can make a difference in someone's life. And it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And the fact that you can change someone who could have gone the wrong path because of something, it doesn't have to be the defining moment in their life that they live the rest of it, they can overcome that, right? So great. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing that, Esma. And Johnny, I saw you raise your hand. What was the last comment that you wanted to share?
Just like Asma said, use your voice. Like if we all use our voice, we can like change the world for better. Because us, like the community joining together, there that we create like a greater power, and we can actually change the world. So please use your voice when you can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And last but definitely not least, Juliana, what are your final thoughts for our viewers today?
I just wanted to say I agree with Ivy. You being sexually assaulted, just know it isn't your fault. It's the person who
Mm.
assaulted you that is in the wrong.
That's right. It's not your shame to wear. Absolutely. Girls, you have been wonderful. It has been my honor to have you on the show today, really. And you have shared something. I mean, you dropped some gems for so many people watching, adults and young alike, and your peers. You are definitely embodying being a change agent and living up to, what that means as role models and spreading the word and using your voice, as you said, using your voice because it is powerful to use it for something positive, bringing in awareness and educating those. So I want to thank you so much, each of you, for being on the show today and taking time out of your day to help. Ivy, yes.
I just want to give a special thank you to you because you made all this possible, and I appreciate everything you do for us.
Aw, thank you so much. It really is, like I said, it's my honor. It's my honor to work with each and every one. And a lot of people think that, Miss Asia takes so much, brings to the table, but I take so much because I learn from you. I see you using your voice. And this is what made me start Jessica Cares, is because I was that 15-year-old that didn't think I had a voice. And to see you using your voice and to see you feeling empowered to share your thoughts and to help other people it's inspiring and motivating to me. So thank you so much for continuously being my inspiration. So thank you again, ladies, for being on the show. For those of you who are watching, thank you for tuning in today, whether you're in our YouTube land, YouTube community, or you're in our Facebook family. Thank you so much for joining. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go and subscribe today under Asia Nasir and hit that notification bell so that way you will not miss any future shows and you can always go back and watch many of our empowering shows that may impact you. And again, we are all about empowering and educating the women of our communities and the girls that they are raising. So thank you for tuning in and sharing and bringing that education and awareness to our community. And we'll see you on the next episode in May. Thank you.